The saying was, purpose is really what happens in somebody else when you do what you need to do. And that's the whole
Wow,
point.
please say that again. Hello, hi, I am Nobukumalo and welcome to Seasons, a series where I sit down with some of the incredible people I've had the privilege of rubbing shoulders with, and we have a chat about, the seasons that we've been through or are currently going through, in the hopes that you'll feel seen, that you'll relate, and that you'll know you are not alone. So today I have with me here someone who's not new to the channel. I had her here, was it a year ago?
Yeah, I think a year or two.
Or two ago, and apart from not being new to this channel, she's not new to YouTube. Her name is Ntwane Ngomane, and like I say, she's not new to YouTube because she's a YouTuber in her own right. And the last time I had her here, we're talking about career.
Yeah.
So if you've not watched that video, make sure you go back and watch. But she's a chartered accountant, is an auditor. But we're not talking about that today. Today we're talking about another angle, which I've already alluded to, the fact that she's a YouTuber and a content creator. But before we get to that, welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming. Thank you for coming back. Just to relax a bit, I'm going to ask you like one or two icebreaker questions.
Okay.
Right. Cool.
Okay.
If you subscribe to the idea, what is your definition of like self-care? Like when you think I'm having like a self-care day or moment, what is it?
It's twofold. One, I'm doing my nails, mani-pedi,
Yeah.
scrub, massage, all of it.
Yeah.
Two, I'm in my house, I'm in pajamas. I just put on my favorite scent. I'm out of the bathtub and I'm going to bed.
You're going to bed. Do you believe in the Sunday afternoon nap?
Oh, yes, I do. But I struggle to sleep during the day.
You're like my sister.
Yeah.
She also struggles. And I'm like, bro, I don't get you. I struggle to sleep, especially at night, actually.
Is it?
But my afternoon nap on Sunday, I feel like if I don't have it, the week is ruined.
I don't even remember the last time I slept during the day.
Hectic.
But I do believe in slowing down on a Sunday, especially like later in the day.
Okay, cool. And then you travel quite a bit. What over the past year or so of your escapades, what's your favorite place you've been to?
Favorite. I would say so far has been Portugal.
Okay, why?
Just the people, the place, the weather, the water. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's beautiful out there.
Okay, that's interesting because at church we have like a Portugal trip coming up in September.
Oh, nice.
So we're talking to one of our friends and asking him for going, and we're like, yeah, we're going, and we asked him if he's going, and he was like, yeah, I've been to Portugal. It's not like, yeah, it's all right. So now, so I was like, how? What do you mean it's all right? So now that there's someone else who's offering a counter.
I think it depends where you go.
Okay.
A lot of people like to go to Lisbon.
Okay.
I haven't been to Lisbon, so maybe that could be on my list. But if you go to like the Algarve, the East Coast, it's beautiful there.
Okay. Unfortunately, it's a planned thing, so I can't really. I don't even know where we're going. I'm not even in the group chat. I hate the group chats. I push my husband. I'm like, you're gonna tell me what they say in there because I'm not joining the group chat.
Yeah.
Okay, fine. The last icebreaker question, right? You're a YouTuber, but what YouTuber do you like? Do you enjoy watching? I'm sure there's like a few, but what's that one YouTuber where you're like, the moment they drop, I'm like, yeah, and why?
Oh, that's a tricky question, especially being a YouTuber myself.
If you could say your channel is your favorite thing to watch.
No, the thing is, by the time my videos drop, I've watched them a billion times through the
editing.
Like,
and you're so over it.
I'm so over it.
Yeah.
But I think the one person for me is Lamide Elizabeth. I don't know if you know her.
I know her.
She was a banker here in London. She moved to Dubai.
Okay.
She's like on a wealth building journey, living independently, financial freedom.
Yeah.
She's now living in South Africa.
Okay.
So yeah, like I watch her content so
when you
much.
say that, is she recently doing a series about like living in two countries at the same time type of thing?
Yeah, she's doing like how you can build wealth in different countries.
I think I didn't know her name. I think she's popped up. She's popped up on my okay, all right.
So that's who I'm currently watching.
Why? Are you seeing a bit of yourself in there?
I do.
Okay.
I do, in a different way though. She's very focused on investment property.
Yes.
While I like investment property, I think I want to go about it differently.
Okay.
But I do like the idea of geographic wealth building and arbitrage. So maybe want to plant roots here, move back to South Africa, do something there, move to somewhere else, do something there. So I like the idea of
the idea. Let me pick your brain on that. What are your thoughts? You've been here for like 2 years now.
Yeah, this is my third year.
It's your third year. What are your like? Are you here? Are you back in SA? Are you in Dubai? Are you in the States? I know nothing is solid. If you had asked me this same question 2 years ago, I had a very clear plan of what it was, but now it has sort of changed. So it's okay to not have answers, but right now, where's your head at?
Sure. It changes. It still changes. I feel, although this year I think I'm a bit more stable.
Okay.
I'm still deciding on whether or not I'm gonna do this long term.
Yeah.
Or I'm gonna leave. But I think we're at a very critical point, especially in our generation, being able to get things like a second citizenship.
Yes.
So I don't want to take for granted the opportunity to get that, because it's a once in a lifetime thing. But also there's a lot at home that I'm that I've lived, that I'm missing out on, and I'll never get that time back. So because, like I said, I'm watching Lamide and just how she's navigating it.
Yeah.
I think it's possible. I think ultimately I might stay to just get that naturalization done, and then come back whenever I need to.
Yes.
You know, go somewhere else if I do need to. I think I might go back to South Africa though for a while
after you've
I'm
got
done
your
here.
stuff.
And then maybe from there I'll decide
I think
next.
I totally get what you say when you say it changed. I think for me, like I said, if you asked me this question like 2 or so years ago, I was so clear that I'm just getting this ILR and citizenship, then I'm out of here. But I think what has changed for me is community.
Yeah.
That has really, really changed. Now I see this as somewhere I could potentially be long term, because I think a lot of what I yearned for when I was clear that I want to go back home is community. Is feeling like, today is Sunday, we could be out on braaiing and doing this and this and that, or you could visit each other and all that. And it felt so isolated, especially because I came like right before COVID, right? So that COVID era and trying to get out of COVID, I don't think people were ever the same after COVID. So a lot of it for me was just like, this feels like a place where you just come and work and no one has time for anyone else. And then you just, you up and, so I always wanted to go back, especially because of that. But the other thing is, each time I go back, I realize that the idea I had of home, apart from my parents and my family, the idea I had of home is not necessarily the home that is there now.
And that you left.
It's not the home that I left, but it's the home the home that I left is the home that's stuck in my head that I think I'll go back to. But every time I visit, I'm like, that home might not be there anymore. Even when I think of the people that I want to go back for, like friends and stuff, a lot of people are moving away and building lives elsewhere. So it's got me in this space where I'm like, we'll see.
Yeah, it really does. It really does impact your decision as well.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, your move to this country was a life shift.
Yes.
And the people you left behind also have had their life shifts. So it can never truly be the same. That's why I feel like living in two countries is like a piece of you is in both. And both are sort of contradicting.
Yes.
You want both at the same time.
And it can be hard to like plant deep roots when you're currently uprooting yourself and planting yourself elsewhere.
It really does.
But yeah, man, it is what it is. It's the price we pay for better opportunities, whatever it is that we came here for. Okay, cool. So I brought you here because I wanted us to talk about your season. I think it's a continuous journey, this YouTube thing, where you're continuously like building. I don't think I'm sure there are people who have arrived, but I think even then you're constantly trying to evolve or change yourself, which even if building means growing your audience or introducing something new, I think it's a continuous season. But I met you when you're already a YouTuber. You had already been doing this for a couple of years. But I'm interested to knowing how you got into this space. What is it that was You know what's happening in your mind when you thought I'm going to pick up the camera and I'm going to do this thing.
Yeah. So the year is 2019.
Okay.
2019, I just started my articles at KPMG.
Yeah.
And I walk through the doors in the morning. I remember that morning, my dad had come from Limps
Yeah.
to Joburg to
Yeah.
come see me off to my first day at work.
Uh,
It was like a big emotional thing in the morning.
Yeah.
And I remember just the feeling of familiarity because my parents were there and my
Yeah.
brothers were there in my tiny little 2-bedroom apartment in Randburg. And in the morning, they see me off and
Yeah.
I drive off to the office.
Yeah.
I get to the office and there's nothing familiar about this place. It's people in suits and pencil skirts and heels and speaking top-notch English
Yeah.
that I probably haven't acclimatized to.
Yeah.
It's a new environment. And a few weeks into the job, I'm just like I don't know how to navigate this space. My parents are not professionals like that. They're
Yeah.
not in corporate jobs.
Yeah. Okay.
There's no one at home to like speak to. I'm a first generation corporate 9 to 5 girl. You know, I'm
Yeah.
figuring it out on my own. And so that's when I was like, how many of us are going
Yes.
through this
Yes.
for the first time? We don't know how to navigate these spaces. We're building careers none of our
family had,
parents have
yeah.
ever had.
Yeah.
The first time my dad heard of accounting was when he probably started teaching at the school and there was a subject called accounting.
Yeah.
But what it was about, he had no idea. I
Yeah.
went to uni and he still had no idea he still doesn't know what I do.
Oh,
He is,
okay.
no, she's an accountant, but he cannot explain to you what I do. And
Yeah.
so I think that environment, those first few months in my articles,
Yeah.
it just gave me this feeling and this pressure to say, why don't you just share the stuff that you go through? Like, why don't you just create a space
Yeah.
where you can share your experience,
Yeah.
see if it's similar to other people,
Yeah.
see if you can share any tips,
Yeah.
share any knowledge. The whole point of it was to, if I had to go through it, you don't have to.
You don't have to.
Exactly.
Okay.
And that's how the channel was a medium.
Okay.
I ideally, before the channel, I've always been involved in like career related
Yes.
stuff. I was chairing an NGO when I was in matric, and through my uni life. But then YouTube was easier because it reached so many people.
Exactly. Exactly.
Much easier than running an NGO at that time.
Yeah.
So that's how the channel was born, really.
When you're thinking about it, are there any like YouTubers that you kind of had seen doing the same thing, even if in another place where like actually maybe there's this person doing this for this elsewhere and it's working and people have access, but it's not specific to the place that I'm in. So how about I bridge that gap?
Actually, no.
Oh.
I'd never seen anyone do career-related content
Okay.
on YouTube
Okay.
at that time.
Okay.
There's been a few now, and it's good that people
Yeah.
are sharing their own respective industries and fields and what they go through. But when I started, there was no one.
So how did you
I
work through
didn't-
because I think I've seen that a lot of people who go into YouTube have been watching YouTubers.
Yeah.
There's a type of style that they enjoy. They're like, I could actually do that. You know, it
Yeah.
looks fun, whatever. And so people like I feel people sometimes get the confidence to start it from seeing someone else having done it.
Yeah.
So I'm wondering when you have this goal, this vision, and this thing that you are impressed in your heart that you need to do, but you don't see visible examples or representations of what you want to do. How do you conquer that then in your brain to say, even though I don't see it, I can be that?
it's a difficult thing to navigate because it's so hard to dream when you can't visualize
Yeah.
what you're dreaming about. But for me, I didn't need to see someone do it because I was speaking from my experience.
Okay.
It wasn't like a superficial thing or maybe something that I need to research or something I need to get information about. I would literally was just talking about my
I'm just gonna
articles
share my story. Yeah.
experience. I
Yeah.
just sat in front of the camera and I said, okay, now in audit, this is what's happening. This is how we navigate. If you're doing your board exams, this is how I'm going through
Yeah.
it. So, and you'll see when you look at my channel, there's not like in the early stages when I was still just starting out, there's no structure.
Girl, what are you talking about? Some of us have been there doing this for 2 years and only now getting structure. So I totally
There is no
get it.
structure.
Yeah.
I would just, oh damn, okay, I can talk about, let me just shoot. In my tiny little
Yeah.
lounge, I would shoot
Yeah.
with my Huawei phone at
Yeah,
the time.
yeah.
There was no structure. So because there was no blueprint for me, I was just figuring it out as I went. So there wasn't a representation, but I'm glad now they're starting to be more and more people who are like speaking about their experiences.
Yeah. From the time you're like, I need to do this thing, because there's obviously a need for it, to starting, I believe for everything there's like a preparation phase. It could be one day, maybe for you it was, I need to do this. The next day you sat in front of the camera and you did it.
Yeah.
But or it could have been longer. I'm interested in the preparation stage, because I feel like a lot of us have brilliant ideas, right? A lot of us have things that have been put in us that we're supposed to be sharing with the world that would change people for the better, but we get so stuck in the preparation phase, right? Where you feel like I need a good camera, or I feel like I need a good story, or I need like a mic, or and maybe part of it comes from over exposure, over consumption to what we see around. Because I think the first people who started YouTube had not seen too much. So for them it was like, whatever I have, does it take sound? Does it take video? I'm going to do it.
Yeah.
But now because we're overexposed, we're like, so and so, like they have like a studio vibe, so I need to find a studio,
You know?
because maybe it won't, So a lot of us like get stuck in that preparation idea phase, and getting yourself out of there into the action can be a bit hard. What was that like for you?
So obviously, like I said, I started this in articles.
Yes.
So I was broke.
Yeah.
There was no budget for a
Yeah.
camera. There was no budget. I didn't even have like lighting.
Yeah.
I'd sit in front of a window.
Yeah.
So for me, it did take a while
Yeah.
to come from, okay, I want to do this thing,
Yeah.
but actually sitting down and actually recording the first video. I used to listen to, was it a podcast? There was a time that Yols, I don't know if you watch
Yols,
Yols.
yeah,
She had
yeah.
a podcast, I think, at some phase.
She had a podcast with Mpumi.
Yeah,
Is that the one?
I think that's the one.
Yeah.
And there was this one episode and they were just speaking about starting. And they said, you don't need to have much. Whatever you have is enough. If you have the idea now, that means whatever you have is enough.
Yeah.
And honestly, what I did was to go buy like a tiny little stand. And I put my phone there.
Yeah.
And I started going. I started the first video, got 6 views. I started the second video, and it just went and went and went. And honestly, there's no other way. When you're starting something, you need to acknowledge the fact that you're a beginner.
Yeah.
You need to acknowledge the fact that you're not going to have the perfect studio. You're not going to have the perfect camera.
And no one might even watch.
No one might even watch.
Because that's another thing. I think particularly for this thing where I think there are other things that we can start in life, and even if no one has interest, the world can see that no one is interested in the thing that you're doing, right? But YouTube is one of those spaces where like the world has a front row seat to whether you're succeeding or failing. Because everyone can see the number of views. They're like, shame.
Exactly.
She's been pushing, but she gets 2 views every time.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And the one thing I learned much recently is that if you have an idea, try it out.
Yeah.
Like, try it out. You don't know where something could lead you.
Yeah.
And the thing about trying something out is you're not expecting it to blow out
Yeah.
in the first video.
Yeah.
Like, you're not going to get the 1 million views
Yeah.
with your first video.
Yeah.
You try it out. If it works, if, today you get 2 views, tomorrow you get 4, that's progress. And that's where people need to start. And that's where we all started. You don't just jump into YouTube with 5,000 subs. No, you start from 1.
And even, and I remember thinking, how many people do I know? If they all subscribe and then they tell their friends to subscribe, sure. But you'll be shocked that they are, even the people you're banking on, they might not come along for the ride. But I guess it's keeping in mind the bigger picture.
Yeah.
What is it that you're trying to achieve here?
And who are you doing this for?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. Are you doing it for the views? Are you doing it because it's important to you? And sometimes you don't reap the benefits now. But I'm sure when you go back to your videos that had like 2 viewers back then when you just released, years later, some people are watching them.
Yeah.
They're staying relevant. So I guess it's about being like true and honest, and with yourself and the purpose that you have, and deciding to do it no matter what. And when you speak about having an idea, my husband and I back in 2018, YouTube has been there for a long time, of course, but like there weren't a lot of, there's a phase where there was like a pop-up of like these couple channel things. I
Yeah.
don't know, maybe it was 2019, but back in 2018, I remember I was still in uni, I was my final year of uni. My husband and I started like a podcast and a YouTube thingy called Just Living Life. So maybe YouTube was a bit more common, but podcasting definitely wasn't a thing yet.
Yeah.
It was a thing in the West, but not really in SA. And I remember I started a podcast, and I don't know how many episodes we did, but we were running with that thing. And then maybe we stopped, like, let's say 5 episodes in. And it's not that we made a conscious decision to stop. It was one of those things where maybe you normally record on Sundays, and then one Sunday passes and maybe you have something going on, then the next, then before you know it, you've
stopped.
And I remember years later, we had this idea of, because it was a couple thing. I remember we had an idea, and we kind of executed it where we got like a couple, where we had a conversation with a couple.
Okay.
But it was podcast. I don't remember how we did it. Was it through video? I think it was through video call or something. But the idea was like we get couples to come, and then we talk about, couple stuff, and then we let go of it. And then years later, Bumi Litova did our love journey. And it was almost like exactly what we had been thinking about. And now we're sitting there thinking the ideas that we have that we start and don't follow through with, and they just, you don't know what could have been.
You don't know, yeah.
So it's just getting yourself out there and I guess starting. But did you share your plan with someone? Did you? Because for me, I'm married. I had to share with someone because I live with someone. But I remember thinking, God, I don't know if I want people to know that I'm doing this, which is weird because you're going to put it out in the public,
anyway.
right? Did you share with anyone that you were planning to do this thing?
I did. I shared it with my best friend.
Yeah.
Then I said, dude, I think I want to do this.
Yeah.
And he's like, okay, but how are you gonna do it?
Yeah.
Because we were broke. Like, you guys don't get it.
It was
like,
rough.
It was rough. It's like, but have you seen like videos on YouTube? Like the quality. I was just like, all I have is my Huawei phone. I can't even take a phone on contract. Like, this is all I have. So I did share that with him, and I think having people who support you,
Yes,
like that thing, like a community of people who support your ideas, your dreams, that is probably the best cheat code you could have. Like having people believe in you, bounce ideas off of. I think that's very important in being a creative.
Yes.
Because sometimes as a creative, you have a lot of ideas.
Yeah.
Because you're a creative.
You're buzzing.
You're buzzing with ideas, and you need somewhere to offload, someone to say, but did you think of this? I want to start a YouTube video, yes, but how is it going to work into your schedule?
Yeah.
How are you going to shoot? Are you going to get an editor?
Yeah.
Stuff like that. So I did share it with somebody and sort of gotten that bounce back.
So you had support.
Feedback.
Yeah. And then when you finally launch the thing and it goes out into the world and more people who know you, what were the sentiments that you got? Because I think what you said earlier, that like having someone who believes and supports you and sees that this thing that you're trying to do is valuable goes an incredible long way, because half the time you're already doubting whether you deserve to be in the space you're trying to go into. So it really helps having someone validate it. And like I said, I didn't tell anyone apart from my husband, and then I just like put it out there, and because people will see it, I was just like waiting to hear, is this going to be positively received? Strangers aside, like the people who actually know me, what are they going to say? When your video is out there, how is the uptake in terms of the people that know you?
I think it's twofold. So the people who knew me when I released my very first video, the people who knew me personally, who were like, oh, this is nice. Like, what you're doing is good. And because they knew, like, the initiatives I've been involved in before, it made sense that I was doing what I was doing. But to people who were a bit distant from me, it was just like, oh, that's different. Because at the time, like, what was popular on YouTube was makeup and hair. And, I think we're still getting into the natural hair care phase. People are doing makeup, and people are just like, that's different. Like it's a different thing. Why didn't you just go into the normal makeup? And I was like,
that's not me.
That's not me. I don't even have hair.
Yeah.
Like I couldn't give 2 cents about hair at that time.
Yeah.
So yeah, like you do have those people that will also doubt your ideas, and I feel like people who are mean, especially in the comments as well, are people who look at you and they want to do what you're
They
doing.
wish that
wish
the
it was
audacity and the
them.
tenacity to do what you are doing.
Yes,
Yeah.
they wish it was them. They wish they had thought of the idea, and they wish they had executed
yeah.
the idea,
Yeah.
but they're too scared to do it.
do it.
So they just sit and bash whoever gives
Speaking
it a
of
go.
being too scared, we were speaking earlier about like being stuck in that preparation phase.
Yeah.
And it being important to think about things. Sometimes it's fine to think about it and do it before you talk yourself out of it, but sometimes it's also very important to think how do you find balance, how do you find a sweet spot between these questions that your best friend was asking you, how are you going to do this, you don't have a camera, so that the what could have been overthinking vis-a-vis the just start and execute, how do you manage to, at what point did you say, okay, fine, now I can't keep thinking about what is
About
I now
it.
need to.
Because I'll never have the camera if I don't do it.
Yeah.
I'll never. What is the point of having the latest tech if you're not gonna do the
Yeah.
idea?
Yeah.
For me, starting and failing is the most important part. Like if you can get to a point where you start whatever it is that you're thinking you want to start, everything else will fall in. When you started your YouTube channel, you didn't have all of this.
Yeah.
But this came because you started. It's Vusi Tembakwai always says, if you're going to be an entrepreneur, you need to make your first sale. You don't need money to start a business. You need to make the first sale.
Yeah.
If you want to start a chicken farm, you
Yeah.
need to sell an egg.
Yeah.
Because otherwise, how are you going to progress into the land?
Yeah.
Because a lot of us, what I've seen is we want the camera, the lights, the background,
I'm
the
laughing.
quality.
I'm laughing because I can directly link that to you sound exactly like my husband right now, because this YouTube thing aside, right? Gym, right? I was like, you know what? I really want to be a gym buddy. So, you know what? So I become a gym buddy. I need to buy like gym wear. And like I need like proper sneakers that I can like run in, and I need like that thing to put my
To put your phone.
so I can then I'll be and it's like, bro, you can't start by buying the things. First develop the habit, first get into the thing, and then you can't start by investing in it before you even started. Because then you've expended yourself, you've expended your resources without even seeing if you really are into it. So I think it's I don't know. I think it goes back to what I said earlier, that it's because we have seen it done. We've seen the final product of a lot of people, such that we want our first day to look like their final product.
Exactly.
A few of us come across YouTubers when they've been doing it for years, when they blow up, right? And so we see that polished thing, but very few of us like will go back and scroll up there, I don't know, hundreds of videos to go and see what their first video was like,
looked like,
and then be like, okay, so it's okay for my first one to also look like that.
that.
We are like, she has that and this and that, so I feel like to start I have to have ABC, and that then becomes a crush.
You will never start.
You'll never start.
You will never, because you never have the latest tech. There's tech being developed every day.
Yeah.
Like when you think you got that nice mic that sits on your desk, they have the magnetic ones now.
Yeah.
You will just never start. So
Yeah.
I think people just need to embrace the fact that you need to start from scratch.
Yeah.
Start with what you have.
Yeah.
If you don't have much, borrow from your friend. Ask if their phone is better, just ask to use their phone and transfer the footage.
Yeah, so basically we shouldn't be letting, it's a bare minimum, you need the camera, right? Because I think the idea is look at what the entry requirements for whatever it is that you want to do are. Not the editing, like the bare minimum entry requirements. And as a start, if you can have that, start with that.
Yeah.
It will, I think what that will do is also to either solidify the fact that this thing really is for you, or quickly teach you that this thing is not for you.
Yes.
Before you go in there and spend money that you don't need to spend.
Exactly. Before you buy studio lights.
Try it out first before you buy studio lights. So you launch, how many years has it been now?
5 years.
5 years. How was the growth Like you did say earlier that like, your first video, maybe, I don't know, had 6 views.
Yeah.
How have you seen it grow over the years? And as it grows, I'm sure there are quiet seasons and there are busy seasons and there are times where something seems to be a hit and everyone's
Yeah.
buzzing, and then you try to do that thing again and then the second time it doesn't
It
work.
doesn't work.
This YouTube thing, you guys don't understand that this YouTube thing is such like, it's a mind.
It's a roller coaster.
Hey, how has that, looking back, how has that growth phase been?
So my YouTube is different, very different to a lot of the YouTubers that I watch.
Yeah.
And I'm in a very different niche
Yeah.
to what a lot of people do content on.
Yeah.
And so I feel my growth has been very organic.
Yes.
And organic takes time. So
Yeah.
it has taken time as well.
Yes.
It was very word of mouth, I want to say. There were videos that did incredibly well, like videos where I talk about my CEO journey,
Yeah.
especially back 2-3 years ago, especially when I was still in articles.
Yeah.
Those blew up a lot. And like you said, you try to recreate that and it's like, no, but we know this from the first video. I'm not watching it again.
Brian, I'm not going to listen to you twice talking about the same thing. Yeah.
So it's been very organic. And I feel at some point, I feel glad that my growth was organic and it was slow because it paced me in the work that I was doing. If there's one thing that I didn't want was to blow up in that space and then find myself doing work that's far-fetched from the purpose that I was trying to get
Because
to.
you're not trying to.
Because now it's about the money and the ad revenue
And that there's people waiting for you too.
Yeah. So it's been organic and it's been slow, and I feel like God has just been teaching me patience with this channel as well, to say not everything is supposed to blow up and have billions and billions of views. Not to say we're not looking to grow. We are looking to grow, but there are some things that don't need to be rushed. And however long it takes you to grow whatever you're doing, that's how long it takes you, and you need to be fine with that. So for me, it was very organic.
So we spoke earlier about why the career content, but I wanna speak more about it. Apart from moving from a space where, I wish this information was available when I started my articles, to now where you're consistently like, you're talking about job rejection and all that. Like, what is it in you that drives this passion and fire for this career content? Because like you said earlier, when you started, everyone's like, why didn't you just do like makeup or vlogs or those things that I don't want to call them easy. They're not easy in that obviously everything needs time, but those that are easy in the sense of if you're trying to look for a quick buck or whatever, it's easy to just do what everyone else is doing. But even through the slow and organic growth, knowing that you could do things that could push you up, you've stayed true to this. I know you vlog here and there, but I don't think that's your primary thing, or rather the purpose of your channel. What keeps you grounded and what keeps you going on this career content thing is really what I want this to be about.
Every time, and I'm gonna be very honest, there were times I was like, God, this is not working. I think I'm gonna stop and just not do content anymore. And then I wake up one day and there's a DM that's just like, oh my gosh, that video you did helped me so much. Or like, I don't know, some positive review that is just like, how can I stop? Every time I got to that point where I'm like, God, I'm done, I get one of those.
It's not by coincidence.
It's not.
It's not by coincidence.
I've learned that it's not.
I said in one of my videos that I wish God still used to speak in a burning bush, that I would know very clearly that this is God, because that's where I came from nowhere. But if we are conscious and we're still enough to listen, God is always speaking. Go on. I interrupted you.
Yesterday, we went out to an event and I met so many people there. And there was one guy particularly, he said to me, I've watched your videos since I was in honors year. He's moved to the UK now. He's like, every step of the way, there was a video you did that spoke to exactly the season I was in. When I was in honors, there's a video that speaks to failure in honors, getting up, how to do it. When I was in articles, there's a video that speaks about that. When I was deciding to move abroad, there's a video that spoke about that. And he's like, I'm here because of you. So how can I stop?
And it's an incredible thing because, like I said earlier, we're in a space where we measure success by the number of views that you get.
Yeah.
But if you think about it in terms of the number of lives that you have touched,
Impacted, yeah.
touching one life,
Oh,
impacting one person,
yeah.
it should be enough. Honestly, it should be
Yeah.
enough to keep us going. And another way I like to think of it is the fact that when we look at your YouTube video, of course, because you know that because of the internet it reaches millions and millions of people. When you look at a video and you see 100 people have watched it, it's easy to think, this is disappointing. It's just 100 people. But can you get 100 people in your room today?
Sure. And how would you feel
if 100 people showed
up
and were like, right,
and
we're
they're
here to listen
watching
to you? That's how I've kind of started to think about it, that in the grand scheme of the population of the world, my 100 views is very little. But it's 100 people who said, I want to listen to what you have to say.
They said, we're going to watch your video for the hour that it is.
Yeah. Yeah.
So for me, it's that. Like, I just feel like God hasn't spoken to me in a burning bush or like in a loud voice.
Yeah.
How I wish. But those little nuances, those little DMs and comments that come in at exactly the time where I'm telling God, I'm done. It's those things for me that is like, okay, do the next video, do the next video. What's going on now? Share about that. And so for me, the real life impact is really what drives me to keep going. More than the views that you see on the videos. The views are great for the algorithm, but it's the impact on the ground, at the ordinary person on the ground who's trying to build their career and trying to live this life and figure it out. It's that impact that's just like, but if you stop now, what then?
So do you think this has some God-given purpose to it?
I believe so. I believe so because, I don't know, just looking at my life and where I started, high school, primary, you know how they say, like, when you grow older and you go back to your childhood, you start identifying those little things that you used to do that are like such a big part of your purpose when you now grow up and start to pursue that. And I see those things in myself. When I was younger, I was the person who's helping people with their homework. I was the person who's during study sessions is there like, okay guys, we can solve this in front of the class and trying to solve this math sum and you know, like, oh, how do we do this in physics? How do we design this experiment? And I was that girl. It was
always there.
It was just always there. Like, so for me now, it's like I'm connecting back with that girl, that little girl who used to help people with their academics.
And to me, it says your purpose can take different shapes or forms depending on where you are in life, but because it's God ordained, it will always find its way to be impactful. In whatever space you're found in. It doesn't always look the same way. Because obviously as a child, you don't know anything about career, but your purpose, which is to help people and share knowledge and get people the knowledge that they need to also help themselves, has always been there. The way in which it shows up has just like evolved over time.
Differently.
And now you're here sharing like content related stuff. What has been the biggest challenge that you've faced with this?
I think comparison to other people, comparison to, and the thing is, for me now, it's resulted in me taking a step back from YouTube. Like, I do produce, but I don't consume.
So is it yourself comparing yourself with others or people comparing you with others? What is it?
No, it's me.
Okay.
It's not even other people. Let's leave them out of this.
It's even better if it's other people because you can shut other people out. But when it's yourself,
when it's you and you know, you go on YouTube and you're like, oh my God, nobody started a podcast. Like, that looks like, should I start a podcast? Like, it's things like that. And then you get on YouTube and somebody's getting 100,000 subscribers and you're like, why
just
am I
started
so,
yesterday
they
and
just
they're on
started,
100,000.
I've been 5 years in this thing and I'm not even, so it's those
Yeah.
voices that come up that's
Yeah.
a challenge, and you need to constantly remind yourself that you're on two separate paths. You know, their success is not going to look like my success.
Yeah.
And we define success differently
Yeah.
either way.
Yeah.
For them, it might be number of subscribers. For
Yeah.
me, it might be different, something different. So yeah, I think that has been one of the biggest challenges.
Yeah.
As I think generally as a creator, it's inherent in, you know, you putting content out there and then you seeing how other people who are doing similar things to you
Yeah.
are performing as
Yeah.
well. It makes you question whether what you're doing is good enough and whether it's you're even on the right
Yeah.
path. So yeah, that's probably been my number one.
How have you said it's resulted you in like sort of taking a step back.
Yeah.
But what are you doing to actively work out of that day to day to say, okay, fine, this is how I feel, acknowledge your feelings, and that probably they're valid, right? But
Yeah.
not letting them tie you
Stop
down
you.
or linger longer than they need to.
Yeah.
What is it that you do to get yourself out of that rut and be like, okay, I need to show up again and smile and give the best of myself?
I still show up.
Yeah.
That's what I do. I compare, I step back, and I'm like, okay, I'm done with YouTube for this week. But I will, every Saturday, I will sit and I will record and I
Yeah.
will edit and I will show up regardless.
Yeah.
Because the important thing is showing up even when you don't feel like
Yeah.
it. Even when there's 1,000 voices in your head that's saying, but you're not good enough.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just sitting there and you're like, I will do it scared. I will do it even though I'm not good enough.
But I'll do it anyway.
I'll do it anyway. And you put it out there, and there's this great comment
Yeah.
about someone who says, "Oh my gosh, this is
This
the
is exactly
video."
what I needed. Yeah.
Exactly.
Do you feel like do you feel a bit settled now in your niche sort of? Do you feel a bit more confident? I speak because obviously like I am like 3 years your junior in terms of this YouTube thing, because I'm just 2 years in, and I think until this podcast, I really didn't know what I was doing.
Yeah.
To be honest, I know why I started, which was because I love to talk. I love I love to talk. I love to talk, and I love sharing ideas. And
Yeah.
I think I'm a conversationalist generally. I love that. So when I started, I was like, I have a lot to say about a lot of things. Why not sit in front of the camera and say it? It's free, you know. But after you do the first 1, 2, 3 videos, you're like, I'm kind of running out of stuff to talk about.
Exactly.
And people say consistent, but how can I be consistent? I have nothing to say about now. Then I'm like, okay, fine. I remember at some point I was like, let me do like London content. So like I did like a 3 or 4 videos where I was just like, cost of living in London, what. Then after that I was like, yeah, there's only so
You're
much of
done.
London I can do. Okay, fine, maybe I could try vlogs, you know. So for the longest time,
Yeah.
I knew I should be on YouTube. I was clear about that at least. But I just couldn't figure out like why am I here? And only now am I starting to feel like, oh, okay, maybe this is it. But I still have like voices here and there that say maybe you could do this and do that. Have you found footing? Do you feel like you have grounding now? I can be like,
Yeah.
this is what Ntwanie is about.
No.
Okay. Okay.
No, I'll be very honest.
Yeah.
I still also find myself having those voices like, oh, you could do this, or you could do a bit more travel content, or you could do a bit more this and that.
Yeah.
But I think that's the journey.
Yes.
Right? That's the journey. It's great to have pillars of your content,
Yeah.
and pillars
Okay.
of your ideas
Okay.
to say, okay, maybe I'll talk about London content, and then I will talk about investing and
Yeah.
personal finance. It's great, and it's good to have a different feel to your content as
Yeah.
well. But I don't think I need to be, I don't want to say tied down, but stick to one thing.
To butcher yourself, yeah.
To bottle
Yeah.
myself, into one thing, because I'm one person, but I have various interests.
And you're creative. I think
Yeah.
whatever artist, whether YouTube or podcasting, it's being a creative,
Yeah.
and it's creativity is that thing that you kind of can't control, right? The mind runs as far as it can based on what you consume day by day. Yeah.
So I feel like I'm still on that journey to find my footing and to find like a structure
Yeah.
that works well with all the interests that I
you have.
have.
Yeah.
But for now, I do rotations. So in 1 month, I will talk about a pillar. In the next
Okay.
month, I will do another pillar. In
Yeah.
the next month. So whatever all the pillars of my content are, they would be rotated every other month.
Let me pick your brain on that. That's an interesting one. So, what does your planning look like when you're planning these pillars or this
Yeah.
1 month? What's that process like?
So, say, for example, we'll take the career development
Yeah.
pillar, right? I will sit and for that month, I'll say, what do I want to touch on with this career topic
Yeah.
on a specific month?
Yeah.
And maybe that month it's about job search.
Yeah.
And so we'll do where do you go? How do you find jobs?
Yeah.
How do you prepare for interviews?
Yeah.
How do you do your CV? How do you deal with all the rejection that you're gonna get from that, because you will.
You will.
And then the next month we look at a different pillar. It could still be the career pillar, but
Yeah.
on a different topic,
yeah.
different angle. Maybe we look at the CA journey. We look at how do you qualify as a CA if you don't have the honors and all of these things. Is there a different route? Is there something similar that you can do instead? So my planning is always based on a pillar of my content or one of the pillars, and I just look at it based on where is my experience right now in my life, what is happening. In the last month I was doing a lot of interviews and I was getting a lot of rejections, and that's where I did a lot of getting rejected and how do you come up from it and all of that stuff. So yeah, my planning is very fluid, depending on what's happening in my life. My YouTube is very much my personal experience.
Yeah.
I don't
like a diary.
research like that for
yeah.
my channel,
Yeah.
because I know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
I've lived through the experience. Yeah.
You keep talking about your pillars. Do you mind sharing what your pillars are?
Yeah. So I have the career pillar, which
Yeah.
is the overarching
Yeah.
majority.
Yeah.
And I have travel as well in there. I used to do quite a bit of personal finance. I haven't done it in a minute.
Yeah.
But it's also one of the pillars in there. And then we have working, living abroad. That's also
Okay.
a part of it.
Okay.
So the whole thinking around it is, if you're going to have a career, especially in the one that I'm in,
Yeah.
from my experience, you're going to make money
Yeah.
from your career.
What are you going to do with that
What
money?
are you going to do with that money? How do you handle that money? You're a young professional.
Yeah.
You might want to move abroad.
Yeah.
How do you fit that into, how does your career fit into that?
Yeah.
You will travel.
You need time to distress.
You need
will
time to
travel.
distress.
How
You
do you
need
do
time.
that?
How do you plan your career around that? What is the best way? Is it moving abroad to be able to travel? Is it staying in South Africa and moving around your finances to be able? It all works together. I always say we build careers to make money, and we have money to build our lives around the things that we love.
Yes.
And for me, that's travel. So that's how I build around
Yeah.
my pillars.
That's a good one, because a lot of us spend a lot of time at work making money and never spending it. This is not saying go and splurge the money YOLO, but I think especially in London, where the culture is so work oriented. I think it's an important thing that you have it as your pillar, to say you will take time if travel is important for you. For some people, maybe they spend their money on, I don't know, tech or whatever. But to say you work hard as much as you can, reward yourself for it, and that's totally okay.
Yeah.
What is the goal? What is the big goal? When you think about your purpose and the impact that you want to have, what is this goal that you have for your YouTube?
So let's think about it from our pillars, right? If I can get you from a point where you're fresh out of high school, you get into uni, you know what you're doing, you know what the career path or the course that you're doing, and you get into employment and you do what you need to do, you grow, you expand your mind, your knowledge, and you make the money that you want to make to be able to live the life that you want to live. The whole point with my channel is I want you to get I want to get you from a point where you're beginning to build your career to a point where your life reflects what you want it to be because you've built this career and that's now working for you. So it looks different, and I feel like it will evolve over time
Yeah.
because at some point your when I talk about career, a lot of people think about their job,
Yeah.
which is fine. It's a part of that, but your
Yeah.
career is your lifelong work. So you might start out at a job, but you might end up as an entrepreneur,
Yeah.
and you're building a life that you want through that career, through your entrepreneurial journey. So the whole bigger point of my channel is to move you from the beginning until where your life reflects exactly the kind of life that you want through building this career.
Amazing. And when you think of like collaborations and all that stuff, what are the types of, I don't know, organizations or entities or whatever that you
Yeah.
believe would have like a good impact and positive impact, not just on you but on what you're trying to achieve? What are you looking for in terms of partnership?
So definitely, I actually this year have started working with a lot of organizations that provide funding to students, graduates, internships,
Yeah.
stuff like that, where people are really starting their lives, their
Yeah.
corporate or their career
Yeah.
life. So we collaborate and we sort of give them soft skills, work readiness program trainings,
Yeah.
and all of that
Yeah.
stuff. But I think going ahead, and that's where my pillars come in, I'd want to see more financial institutions investing in, financial knowledge for
Yeah.
graduates,
Yeah.
for people, first generation professionals
Yeah.
who come from backgrounds where financial literacy is not even
Yeah.
a topic
Yeah.
at the table, to invest in them, invest in their knowledge, and create packages that are suited for them as well. And then ultimately going into, people who really want to build a life for themselves,
Yeah.
and especially a career that the whole point is I don't want people to build their life around work and around
You want a
career.
holistic
I
person.
want a holistic life. I want you to build your career around your
Your life.
life.
Okay.
Do you get what I mean?
Okay.
Yeah. So that's sort of where it's going and sort of the organizations that I'm targeting.
What is this whole journey of from idea phase to execution to now maintaining and growing? What has it taught you about yourself?
I complain a lot. I complain a lot, but I'll get it done.
Okay.
I will scream and kick and shout and do all of it,
Yeah.
but I will sit and I
You
will
get
do
it done.
it.
So what do you have to say to someone who, it might not be YouTube, it might be anything, that who's someone's got that thing that they've wanted to do for a long time and they just don't know how or where to start? What is the one thing that you wish you knew that you know now that you'd like to share with them, and in the hopes that it will help them on their journey?
It won't get easier just because you're procrastinating.
Oh.
It won't. In fact, it will just get more and more difficult.
Wow.
It won't get easier just because you're sitting there and you're just like, "Oh, I don't know where to start." And I don't want to say just start because a lot of times I say that people think, oh, but you're speaking from a place of
Yes,
privilege.
because because it's worked out for you,
yeah,
now you
it's
can
worked
say
out
just
for
start,
you.
but it's not that easy.
Like I don't want to just say just start, but you have to start. If you can minimize the time between ideation and starting, you've got it.
The better.
You've got it. And you got to be willing to fail.
Yes.
You got to be willing to fail. And that's how we all start.
That's how it all started.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Johnny, for coming. I wish you all the best. I really think the work that you're doing is very important, and there's space for everyone, and people have different interests. So I'm not trying to say other people's YouTube things are not important, but I do really think there's something in there in what you're doing, and especially for the young Black first generation child who does not have a blueprint, who does not have like a map of how to navigate things. I think the work that you're doing is really, really important, and I I really hope you do continue. And as we've said, it won't be easy. Sometimes there's comparison. Sometimes it feels like it's not rewarding because it's not like giving you the money or the result. Because we're like, oh, you know, I was talking to a friend earlier, and she's like, and I was telling her, I'm filming like 3, three things today. She's like, yeah, I get it done. I get it. You want the money? And I was like, if only you, if only you knew, bruv, that there's no money.
There's no money.
But I hope in all the things, the noise, that you never lose sight of your calling and your purpose, and that you know those DMs that come and take them as they are.
Yeah.
And the fact that for every one person who had the courage to DM you, there's so many that appreciate you, that are getting value from it, but just will not DM you. It's like how it's like how even on Instagram, whatever, you put a reel, there's like, of the 100,000 people that watch the reel, only 1,000 comment. Of the 1,000 that comment, only like a few subscribe. Do you get it? So there's so trust the fact that what you're doing is going out there. It's going out there. It is impactful. Some people might not say it, but a lot of people are definitely being positively influenced by it. So do keep going.
Thank you so much.
Don't tire.
Thank you so much. You remind me, someone, I don't know where I read this, but the saying was, purpose is really what happens in somebody else when you do what you need to do. Yes. And that's the whole point.
Wow, please say that again.
Purpose is what happens in somebody else when you do what you need to do.
Wow. That's a good note to end it on. Thank you for coming.
Thank you
for your time.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much for your time. As always, if you have any questions or any comments, or you resonate with anything that we've spoken about today, please drop them in the comment section below. And like I said, Ntwanie is on YouTube. I will link her channel in the description box. Please check her out. Please share her her channel and her videos, and I promise you there's definite value in it, and it's really going to be impactful. But yeah, thank you for your time. I'll see you guys again next time. Goodbye.